everybody, it's Tuesday, April 29th, 2025. Welcome to the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast, where we're glad draft season is over. It's me, your man, MG Marcus Grant, joined by Michael F. Florio and Laquan Jones as LQ throws his hands in the air in victory.
We're back outside, fellas.
We made it. We made it. We made it. We got through the draft. Look, I get it. It's fun. There's like excitement. There's things to talk about, but the whole process it's exhausting. So I'm glad that we are through it for another year. Have either of you clicked on a way too early mock draft for 2026 yet?
No.
I did one on Sunday with the Sirius XM guys over there. But kudos to them. The draft, 14 rounds, was over in like 40 minutes. Like everyone was just in and out.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, no, I'm seeing people like promote their mock drafts for like 2026 for next year, and I'm like, I can't.
Wait, actual? No,
yeah,
I thought you meant a fantasy one, a real life one. No,
I have seen mock drafts for 2026, like big boards for 2026, all this kind of stuff already. I mean, I guess I get it, but I'm not gonna. I respect the work y'all. I respect the work y'all put in. I'm not clicking on that.
Does the doorknob work in their house? Like just twist it, go outside.
Go outside.
There was a USC quarterback a couple years ago that was projected to go like top 5 or 10, and then he went like 4th round the year later.
Oh, it was probably Keaton Slovis.
Maybe.
It was probably Keaton Slovis. He was there for a year. He actually was forced to start because like the guys ahead of him got hurt. The big talking point about Keaton Slovis was that his quarterback coach in high school, the guy he worked with, was Kurt Warner. He ended up transferring after a year or so at USC, and I looked him up. By chance, I just happened to see his name because I had forgotten that he had gotten drafted at all. And that's right. He's with the Texans. He's with the Houston Texans.
Oh, okay.
All right.
But he's like their second or third QB. Like he's their third QB in Houston. So, yeah.
Hopefully we never see him play. I mean, CJ Shough.
Well, that's not. Matt Barkley was the one I was thinking of.
Oh, Matt Barkley. Oh, Matt Barkley was a big thing at USC.
But I remember seeing him be like, he's going to go top 5. And then that never happened.
Yeah. He probably stayed 1 year too long. Some guys, it's good to come back. Matt Barkley probably should have struck while the iron was hot and like left that 1 year and then gotten drafted really high. He came back. It all kind of fell apart. But you know what? He ended up being kind of a nice journeyman quarterback. Like Matt Barkley was one of those guys where you're like, dude, you're still in the league? Like you would see his name on a practice report and you're like, wow, you're still, good for you, man. Good for you. Anyway, we are obviously going to recap the draft, which, by the way, thanks to those of you who jumped in our live stream and hung out with us on Thursday night after round 1.
Yeah.
In case you want to go back and watch it, it's still on the YouTube, so you can go check that out at the NFL Fantasy YouTube channel. But for those of you who caught it live, we're grateful you popped in.
Shout out to the Aussies, man. It was morning when they tapped in with us.
Was it Australia? I thought it was like Ireland or something.
Ireland was there too.
Ireland.
Shout out Ireland, Australia, man. We got fans international, man. I love them.
We are world famous. So shout out to those of you who were either stayed up late or woke up early, whatever it was, to come hang out.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
We are certainly grateful for you for it. We're going to go through our favorite, least favorite picks for day 2 and day 3, talk about some of the players that were helped or were hurt by what happened in the draft. I thought about doing a news segment, but I'm like, all the news headlines are basically draft related, so we might as well just dive on into it here. So let's start with day 2. Simple question. I'll start with you, Florio. Your favorite day 2 landing spot for a player?
There's quite a few, but I'll stick with the Patriots. I like both of their 2nd and 3rd round picks in Travion Henderson and Kyle Williams, partially because these were 2 prospects that I was like, I really like these guys before they were drafted, but they fell to spots where they are going to get an opportunity there. Like Kyle Williams, yeah, we know Stephon Diggs is their 1, but after that, it is completely up for grabs, I believe. And then Henderson, I know people are going to be like, well, Ramondre Stevenson is there. And I don't think he's ever going to fully go away. This looks like a committee to me, but it's a new regime, and they went out and they used their 2nd round pick, early 2nd round pick, on a running back, which to me indicates a change in this backfield. I think we'll see a camp battle and all that, but I expect Henderson to lead this backfield in touches, and he is so fast and so he can have so many big plays that if you give him something like 15 to 17 touches a game, I think he could be a rock solid RB2 that finishes many weeks as an RB1.
And I know for you, Mike, I'm guessing part of this excitement is because I know how much you love Drake May, right? And the Patriots are making an effort to give Drake May weapons. Now, whether or not these guys pan out, we'll find out. But at least the effort has been there. The effort has been shown that they are trying to make things happen for Drake May. But I do gotta ask, because you guys sparked an interesting conversation in our text chain about Kyle Williams. Because Laquan, you were saying you were trying to figure out where to rank him. You guys kind of had an interesting back and forth. I was out busy, doing dad stuff, so I couldn't really jump in the conversation. But I mean, your thoughts on Kyle Williams going to New England, talented guy. The Patriots have not been great at drafting wide receivers in the last couple of decades. I mean, your feelings on Kyle Williams.
Like, I'm a little hesitant. Like, listening to Florio talk about Kyle Williams, I'm like, man, I gotta go back and watch his tape. I gotta go back to see what that spark is, and I see it. Like, he's one of those guys that he could burn right by you on the perimeter. Like, he's one of those guys that right through the middle, he catch it and put his foot in the ground and cut. He can get lost of field, but it's like, I have little PTSD because I was in on Javon Baker, Jalen Polk. These are all New England wide receivers, and that depth chart is a little deep there with just guys. And like, I think Kyle Williams has the opportunity, if given, to step up, show up, and like kind of put these guys in the past. But it's just like, I'm a little hesitant of where to rank him and how bullish to be in some of these drafts. So it's like, I don't know, man. I'm just kind of on the wait and see, but I am a fan of him all around though.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be, I think there's ample opportunity for him to carve out a role, just because,
Absolutely.
as you mentioned, Polk and Baker were non-factors.
Old regime
year.
guys,
Old regime guys, too. I mean, that's the other part of it. Old regime guys, like
That is true.
Mike Vrabel, Josh McDaniels have no real allegiance to Javon Baker, Jalen Polk. So they're really going to have to earn their opportunity here. So there's certainly a chance for Kyle Williams to jump in there and get something done. By the way, any surprise that Quinshon Judkins went ahead of Travion Henderson? Just because it seemed like all the big boards had Henderson listed higher.
I think it's more so of a fit though. Like it's like more so of like what fits what the Browns are looking for. And like they were on the clock and they obviously said, hey, we need a Quinshon Judkins.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's fair. I was just, just curious throwing it out there. Your favorite day 2 pick, Laquan?
Oh, man, I'm going to sound like an op right now because I'm looking at the Seahawks. And Elijah Arroyo, like, I absolutely love this pick. And, like, I feel like this was their best pick out of the entire draft. And they took another one of my boys that we'll talk about later on. But honestly, what he brings to the table, he's versatile. He has soft hands. The guy can play vertical. 51% of his time was in the slot last season. So this is everything that you get from a modern tight end right now that we know and love, out of the Brock Bowers, the Trey McBrides. He honestly has the opportunity in front of him because no offense, let's be honest, he's dust. Like that ship has sailed. Like there's no longer a Noah fan community. If there is, they're deep. 6 feet deep. Like it's just not gonna happen.
There's somebody out there. There's somebody holding on.
Unfortunately,
it is.
Unfortunately, let it go. But more so looking at this spot for him in like the offense, like there's still some type of confusion. So like I'm not bullish on him to make a tight end 1 out of him. So he's like a tight end 2 for me to get later in those drafts. So if I get a Kittle, if I get a McBride or a Hawkinson or whatever the case may be, he will definitely be a tight end 2 that I'll be looking just to have as a stash in those later rounds, just based on the opportunity and upside. And like the reason why I'm really so hesitant is the confusion of the offense right now. Because honestly, it's a new regime. I mean, Clint's coming in there with a fresh start as the offensive coordinator. We don't know where JSN is going to be utilized. Is he going to be in the slot, on the perimeter, bouncing inside it out? You got Cooper Kupp there as well. I guess we can understand and know what MVS's role is. He's going to be the deep threat. So it's like you look at all those things and that is on the paper and on the table for this offense. There's just no real solid like understanding of what this offense is actually going to look with Sam Darnold.
It's funny because the way you feel about Elijah Arroyo, and this isn't my favorite day 2 pick, but it's sort of how I feel about Harold Fannin going to Cleveland. And not that David Njoku is dust. He's definitely not, but he's also getting up there toward age 30. The Browns can sort of get out of his contract after this season very easily. They can void the last couple years of the contract, so they can move on from him. And everything they did in this draft suggests they're kind of turning the page from what was to what they think can be in the future. So like pretty much a lot of the things you said about Arroyo, kind of how I feel about Harold Fannin going to Cleveland and
he's
being
a
part of
Canton
that
guy
offense.
too. Not that far from Cleveland.
There it is. Yeah, it's a short drive, 30 mintes. I can tell you.
We know. I'm about to say we know
that we have done that drive. So, so my favorite day 2 pick, and maybe this is chalky. I don't know. I don't care. It's Luther Burden.
Ooh, I like that.
Going to Chicago. Going to Chicago because, we know they've moved on from Keenan Allen. Obviously, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, the top 2 receivers there in that offense, but there is room for a third guy. There is room for a slot receiver with Caleb Williams. Now you've got Ben Johnson coming over to take over that offense there. It's still a running back room that is kind of meh. So I think they're going to have to rely on the quarterback. They're going to have to rely on the passing game there. So I'm not going to overrate Burden in terms of what he's going to give you this year in fantasy. I mean, I think he's still at best going to be a flex option in a lot of leagues, but there is a possibility for him to be productive this year in Chicago. I do think he's going to have a really decent year. Just understand that it's going to be up and down. There are going to be some weeks where he's just going to disappear because the other 2 guys are going to take a lot of the opportunity. But I just think he landed in a really, really good spot.
I will say I am a fan now because there was only 3 locations that I was like, listen, I understand the talent, but he needs to go to the right spot. It was literally Kyle Shanahan, Ben Johnson, Sean McVay. Those are the only 3 landing spots. He landed at one of them. So now I could see the possibility of fantasy relevance some weeks. Just
all right,
he was going to eat regardless.
No.
But I'll say that it was one mock after literally the day after the draft, but I got DeAndre Swift in like the end of the 6th round. I got Rome Odunze in like the 7th or 8th round, and Burden went after them. I want exposure to this Bears offense. I'll flag plant, whatever you want to call it. And DJ Moore's going full price. All the rest of them are being way undervalued in my opinion.
I feel like that's going to change. I mean, that's the kind of thing where if you're doing best ball drafts, then you probably want to jump in now because I just did
a bunch this weekend.
I think Swift will stay about where he is. Like I don't see much movement in the running back spots.
I think people are too low on Rome Odunze. I know people are low on Caleb after last year, but like he is, in my opinion, the biggest winner of the offseason is Caleb Williams.
My stack in the last best ball draft I did was Luther Burden, which was late. I got Swift and I got Caleb. So that's like one of those discounted, like if you want exposure in that Bears offense that I'm willing to take. Because I feel like Rome Odunze eventually is going to come up a little, creep up to the area that I'm not comfortable with. And like you said, DJ Moore is definitely priced at the 4th and 3rd round and where he's going to be floating. But I don't think I could pay that price for DJ Moore. But everybody else, I'm all in.
I mean, I think if you look at Caleb's season, right? I mean, it was not some generational, transformational season. I mean, Jaden Daniels helped get his team to the NFC Championship game. But you look statistically, passing numbers wise, they were about the same. Caleb did a good job protecting the football, just the 6 interceptions. The touchdown numbers were low, right? 20 touchdowns, not great. This was an offense that did not score a lot of points.
I'm surprised he got that.
Bringing in Ben Johnson's supposed to change that. It's supposed to help him get over the hump in terms of scoring, right? So I think that means you can sort of project a little bit more for Caleb in terms of passing touchdowns this year, which in turn means you can project more for Odunze. Hopefully that means Luther Burden's getting involved, right? DJ Moore, we know who he's going to be. He's going to be the alpha, at least in that offense. But I think you can start to project a little bit more production for this team just by what Ben Johnson brings to the table.
And to that point, it's not just how good Ben Johnson is and like how fantasy friendly his system is. It's comparing it to what they had last year, where they had Shane Waldron, who doesn't use motion, doesn't move guys around the field a lot, operates like it's the 1990s, his offense. So you're going from that to arguably one of the best offensive minds in football. Like it is such a drastic change. And yeah, people could have their biases from last year. Like Rome Odunze, people are holding a down rookie year against him where he had 2 target vacuums and an OC change and the quarterback was a rookie going through. I think Rome Odunze is going to be probably one of my more drafted players this year.
I got 10 touchdowns on Odunze.
I mean, I do think he's primed for a step forward this year. I just, I think it's going to happen, especially no Keenan Allen there. I think he's Right now, it's undervalued. I think people will start to look into this and come around.
He's
going to
creep.
more.
And
all right, so
before we move to least favorite, I just want to give a quick shout out. RJ Harvey deserves. He was a huge fantasy winner, and I know we didn't like him on this show, but Caleb Johnson, I believe, was a big fantasy day 2 winner.
Okay, all right, all right. Well, then that gets us to least fave, which you mentioned. I'm going to jump in here first because RJ Harvey was my least fave landing spot.
Really?
It's not about the player. It's about the spot.
Yeah.
I don't trust Sean Payton. I don't trust Sean Payton. I don't trust his backfield usage, right? I mean, sure, like maybe RJ Harvey is the lead back there, right? But he's going to be tempted to sprinkle in some Jaleel McLaughlin, right? He's going to one day just kind of get a wild thought and decide he's going to run Audric Estime, right? Until I have a level of confidence that we can trust Sean Payton with his running back usage, this to me is not about the player. It's about the landing spot. That's all it is for me. I can't. I just can't with RJ Harvey. Yeah, that's it. That's all
I get it. I know the Paytonism or whatever we're gonna call it was awful last year. I think that's because he did not have a running back on the roster that he even remotely trusts. And McLaughlin is solid. I thought he trusted
Jaleel McLaughlin. I thought he trusted Audric Estime. I thought he trusted these
Audric
guys.
Estime is like the slowest running back in the NFL.
I mean, he's
McLaughlin is just a guy. Like the fact that they used a round 2 pick on a running back, to me, I came away feeling pretty good about Harvey.
Yeah. All right. I feel really good about the landing spot only now that I have a change of heart because honestly, we've seen a guy of his frame, his build last season finish as the RB1 as a rookie, and that was Bucky Irvin of the class. So I feel like being that you have Bo Nix in the building, he kind of expressed his love for Bucky Irvin and said, go get a guy like that and put the ball in his hand. Like Harvey had back-to-back seasons with 1,400 plus yards, 42 touchdowns in 2 seasons at UCF. That cannot be ignored with a Jaleel McLaughlin and the slowest player on the planet in Audric Estime. Like, there's no way he has any psyche and calculate in his head to say, I'm not going to put the ball in RJ Harvey's hand. No way.
All right. I mean, we say that now.
I feel you with the trust issues.
We say that now, but then in week,
if he flips up the bird this season, I'm done.
week 6, we're talking about shenanigans because he's like messing around and stuff. We needed a new one, right? Because Bellatrix doesn't really count anymore because he's not in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, we still have shenanigans.
Bellatrix is still going strong though.
It is just in a different arena. We're not talking about that though. We got Shanahanigans still in San Francisco. We needed a new one, so I'm going with Seananigans in Denver with Sean Payton for sure. All right. Beyond that though, LQ, your least favorite landing spot in day 2.
Oh man, this is a landing spot situation for me too. And not that he's not going to produce. I'm just selfishly, I wish he was a Ram, and that's Jack Besh, man, going to the Las Vegas Raiders. Like, it's such a great situation for him because he's a starter right now as a rookie on that roster among some of the other guys like McMillan, Burden, et cetera, et cetera. But I just wish he was a Ram because he can excel at a longevity time because he just seems like a McVay guy. Like, he's so physical, and I know McVay probably saw his tape and was like, I can use this guy on every single level possible. Close to the line of scrimmage, just how physical he is, he could break the tackle. Intermediate, he's very savvy and sneaky with his route running to just be there open for you. And he could play it deep. Like, he's really one of those guys that you were just hoping he gets on your team. But he's on the Raiders, so I guess, we'll see what Geno Smith does with him and, Pete Carroll.
So it's your least favorite spot just because you're being selfish?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Got it. All right, that's okay. I mean, because I liked the pick. I thought it was a good spot just because of all the things you said,
but
what he could do.
He's not going to hit a ceiling, man. He's not going to hit a ceiling that he could have had with McVay. That's all.
You can't have all of the wide receivers.
Do you think he's going to be fantasy relevant year 1?
He could be. I mean, what are you worried about? Trey Tucker and then Jacoby Myers on the perimeter is not as good as he is in the slot, and I think Besh will be in the slot.
I think Besh plays, but I think Myers and Bowers are going to see a lot of volume on a team that's probably going to run the ball very, very heavily.
Oh, heck yeah.
I think he's relevant in deeper leagues, but even then,
better and best ball guy to me.
Absolutely. He's a guy that you just stash. Like, you have that watch list feature on a lot of these, like, fantasy outlets, and just watch him. Just have him on the tabs of, like, when he starts to generate some volume. Okay, I'll add him on the waiver wire a week ahead before everybody gets above the curve.
All right. Side note to this, by the way, Hunter Renfrow signed with the Carolina Panthers over the weekend. So,
Dude took 1 year off to be like a realtor or something like that.
Yeah, right.
That's pretty sweet.
The Clemson guy gets a little bit closer to home. So there it is. All right. Your least favorite landing spot, Florio?
It's two guys, same team. One that I liked, one that LQ loved, Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. I think this is a good real life landing spot for them. I think you could argue for dynasty long term. There's potential there. They're tied to a good quarterback, stuff like that. But just for redraft purposes, I think it's going to be hard for... barring injury. Like, I think Noel slides in if Christian Kirk misses time. I think Higgins slides in and plays the Nico Collins role if he misses time. But while those two are still healthy, it's going to be... Though I believe they are the top two targets there. So then it's going to have Higgins and Noel competing for that third wide receiver spot and 3 wide receiver sets, stuff like that. And then there's also Dalton Schultz, who I don't think is great, but he's going to get some volume there. So for redraft purposes, I think it's going to be tough for these guys to see weekly consistent volume until one of Kirk or Nico eventually misses time.
Yeah. I just thought it was weird they drafted 2 guys from the same team, same offense.
That was insane. I did not expect that.
Like, it was just kind of crazy. Like, I just did, like, because I was in the car for a good part of the 3rd round, and Laquan, you texted like they just took they just took Noel. Yeah, and I was like, in my head, I'm like, wait a minute, didn't they take Higgins too? I was like, really, like, like I said, I was like driving, so I couldn't like sit and scroll. I'm like, wait, they took Higgins too, right? So it just, it made my brain itch for a little bit. I had to kind of figure that one out.
They both fill a hole, a need, I guess. I mean, they comped, Higgins to Nico Collins, and Nico hasn't had the best health track record. So if he ends up missing time, nice little plug and play there, I guess.
I also think it's a little bit of a statement of their fear about Tank Dell too.
Ooh,
yeah.
Well, Jalen, he can win downfield as well. Like, if you want to utilize him like a Tank Dell, you could slingshot his tail right across that perimeter. He could be a guy that can go get that ball. And like, even with the O-line issues, like, I know they address somewhat of the O-line grabbing a tackle, but like, you need somebody that's going to be quick in those breaks. And Jalen, he is very quick in those breaks, so where he could just quick release and get it right to him and get upfield.
Yeah.
He could learn from Kirk, right? Like, I think that is a good long-term pairing.
And Kirk is my boy. He's my boy, but I have to admit, there is some type of worry about him taking a step back after being, injured and banged up and kind of getting up there in age as well. Like, he's not the same wide receiver he was in Jackson.
Him and Nico were never the face of health either, so.
No, they really weren't. So
these guys will play.
A couple quick questions about day 2 before we move on to day 3. Is Tyler Shough your starter in New Orleans?
I think so.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be a camp battle. Him and Spencer Rattler. They seem to still like Spencer Rattler. I just don't think you hand the job to a 3rd round rookie without making him compete.
What, 27-year-old 3rd round
who backed up Justin Herbert for 2 years, who's now on a 2nd contract in the NFL.
He's actually a 90s baby though. He's born in 99.
This blew my mind. I didn't fact check it, but apparently he is the final player that will ever be drafted into the NFL who was born in the 1900s.
Wow. All right. That's a little piece of trivia. So I saw
on Twitter. I didn't fact check it, but I got really sad and then made me not want to fact check it.
Yeah, it's sort of wild.
Yeah,
I mean, it definitely makes sense, right? It's 2025, right? So you're not gonna find too many of these guys at this point.
I felt old when Keenan Allen's birthday was just like not too long ago, and dude, I'm older than him. Like,
yeah,
I'm older than Keenan Allen.
Yeah, come over to my side, man.
He just turned 33.
Oh, wow.
Come over to my...
Dude, LeBron is like the last one that... There's very few... KD, there's very few that I'm like... Athletes I could point to that are older than me.
Yeah, wow. I think I'm done. I've aged out now. Like, that's sort of why I was hoping that Tom Brady... I mean, I'm older than Tom Brady, but only by 3 months. So I was kind of hoping that, like, he kind of hung on for a little bit longer. I mean, that's why I was big on Bartolo Colon staying in Major League Baseball for a while. I needed the old dudes to hang around.
Bart could give you 6 innings today, no doubt about it.
And a hilarious at bat to boot.
Yeah.
So there it is. Other question. will Jalen Milroe, I'm going to ask this of you, Laquan, because I know how you feel about Jalen Milroe.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask it in a very specific way. Will Jalen Milroe earn a start this season? I was going to say, will Jalen Milroe start a game this season? But just because of the way quarterback is, guys get hurt, what have you, that seemed very likely. But will he play well enough in practice or get off enough where the Seahawks look and say, okay, we are giving you a starting gig over Sam Darnold? Will that happen this year?
No, because Sam, regardless of how he finished the season and the Rams gave him complete PTSD, which we're going to give it twice a year, every year. You just best believe that. But he played really good football for most of the season. And if he had lesser weapons around him, then I would say Milroe might get a shot at earning a spot and actually starting playing better than Darnold. But nah, I don't see it really happening this season. It's one of those things that they brought him in to develop him. He could be the future. He'll be the backup plan just in case Sam Darnold falls on his face. But I think Sam's coming in, as a guy that could probably operate this offense at a decent high level, I would say, like in that between of where like most weeks he'll look like the quarterback of the most, first couple of weeks when he was the Vikings, but then he might fall apart in December like how he did.
All right. I know everybody's like sort of excited about the potential of Jalen Milroe. I just was struggling to see a place where he would be fantasy relevant.
It'll be great to see him in preseason. It'll be the oohs and ahs, in preseason, but we'll see.
I can see it now. He has a good preseason game. Everybody's like, is there a quarterback controversy in Seattle? And it'll be like, no.
I don't think this year, but next season they have an out after that. So if Darnold is struggling then, I think that's when we see the carpet pulled.
Yeah, okay. I could see that. Happening. Bonus question before we hit the break, Florio. When will Laquan break down and draft Terrance Ferguson?
I'm guessing he already has on like 3 best ball teams.
Absolutely not, man. The rule is never draft a Rams tight end. Why
I just wonder whether or not your fandom over, at some point your body
you're just
can't
on the clock
itself.
And your thumb just
you're like, and you just do it anyway. Like,
there needs to be like a block list when you're drafting. You know how you could start to put it in there needs to be a queue of like, I don't ever want to see this player.
D&D, do not draft sort of thing.
Yeah. No, it's not.
All right. Recapping the 2025 NFL draft on to day 3. And same thing. Let's start with your favorite landing spot, Florio, for a day 3 guy.
There was 2 running backs I loved, but one was my guy. I know my guy and a lot of other guys, but I loved Cam Skattebo as a prospect. And all I wanted him to go to was a team where he could get an opportunity. And that's where he went, the Giants. And kudos to the Giants, man. I know it's easy to dunk on them and stuff. I thought they had a great draft, and I thought they really set their team up for success this season. But Skattebo comes in. He could compete with Tyrone Tracy, who, let's not forget, is a wide receiver playing the running back position, learning it on the fly and stuff. So I think that there's an opportunity for him to slide in and split touches, probably split drives or something like that. Could be a 60-40 split. But I think Skattebo is going to be on the heavy side of that. He is built to handle volume. I think he is a better pure runner. He's more elusive. And I know you could say Tracy's a great receiving weapon. Skattebo is elite as a backfield receiver, can be used downfield, all of that. So he got the opportunity. He went in the 9th round in this draft I did the other day, and that seems like value that I will be in on all year if he's going in like the 8th, 9th round, something like that. Yeah,
I can definitely take a shot on him if that's where he's going. I mean, you know that. You guys know we're a very Cam Skattebo friendly podcast, so not a bad spot. I don't think it's a bad landing spot for him at all. I know people loved the Giants draft this year, and I think they definitely addressed some needs. Now it's just a matter of whether or not
Patriots, Browns, Giants are probably one of the many of my favorite drafts.
It is a matter. It's a question of whether or not Brian Daboll can coach those
Browns.
Guys up.
I like the Browns draft. Yeah,
Browns. Yeah, we're gonna talk some Browns too.
Not a fan.
We're going to talk some Browns because they did some very interesting things in this draft for sure. Laquan, your favorite day 3 landing spot?
Man, I was really, really surprised to see Damian Martinez go in the 7th round. Like the value that the Seahawks got. And again, this is the second time I'm coming up here talking about a Seahawks player. And look, they kind of killed it in the draft with a bunch of guys that I liked, and like, I feel like with these rookie drafts underway and coming up, you better leave the draft with Damian Martinez because the clear path to RB1 is there. I mean, Kenneth Walker, can we get a healthy season? Can we? It's a contract year for him. And his rushing efficiency has dropped every single season that we've seen him out there. And look, Zach Charbonnet, cool. He's great. I mean, he's great in his opportunities as a starter, but he only has 2 games to his career with over 60 rushing yards. You bring in a guy like Damian Martinez, who's just hard-nosed, head down. I'm going to run through you. I can make you miss as well and add to the passing game. Boy, I cannot leave rookie drafts without him. Like, it's honestly one of the hard-nosed runners that you don't want to leave the draft without. Like 100 gorillas versus Damian Martinez. I'm taking Damian Martinez every single time. I don't care what it is. Damian Martinez will be champion. I'm telling you now.
I didn't bank any time on this show for us to get into this, 100 people.
No,
100
I had a
versus
question
gorilla.
pre-planned on it.
Oh, did you?
Who would win, 1 gorilla or 100 LQs?
Oh, please. The gorillas.
LQs, we're fully motivated.
I knew he was going to say it. Me and MG would be like, yeah, we're going to lose. But I knew I had to shape it that way.
I mean, because of course he thinks he can beat a kangaroo. The gorilla would mop up 100 LQs while still eating a banana. Like, just like, what are we doing?
100 LQs
Donkey Kong
motivated, bro?
punching.
Let's go.
Man. All right. Let's see. All right. So you like Damian Martinez. I'm going to say, and maybe there's not an immediate path to success for this guy, but Alec Iomanor going to Tennessee, just because, I mean, look at the wide receivers ahead of him on the roster right now, right? I mean, they bring in Tyler Lockett, who has had some good years, but is definitely on the tail end of his career. Calvin Ridley, and I think they're sort of trying to fashion him as the alpha there, and he probably will be, at least for this year. Van Jefferson, who, look, I once upon a time was a Van stan, but those days are kind of over. So there is opportunity. There is a chance for him to step up and start to earn targets in this offense. They're trying to build something new. They spend the number 1 pick on Cam Ward. I would like to see them maybe upgrade the offensive line a little bit, but I think it's passable at this point. So I think there's a chance for Iomanor to step in there. I think he's maybe more of a keeper league, dynasty league option in 2025 than, say, a redraft option. But I see the vision. I see there's a path for him to kind of become a productive option in an offense that just is desperately in need of playmakers, right? I mean, look, we spent a whole long time last year trying to make Nick Westbrook-Akine a thing, right? Because
ball legend.
Right. I mean, but because that showed you kind of where they were in terms of their wide receivers there. And not that he was bad or anything, but at the start of the year, nobody was really on NWI kind of like that. So I'm in kind of on Iomanor at this point.
Can I give one bonus?
Please.
Jaden Blue. I thought he was a huge winner going to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
His competition is Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. He's explosive. I think he starts maybe the year as the RB2, but clear path for him to overtake as the RB1.
Yeah, no, he's another one that I did like where he landed for sure.
Don't fumble the ball.
Yeah, that's his biggest issue.
Don't fumble the ball. All right, Florio, then who's your least favorite landing spot day 3?
Well, Shedeur Sanders for one, but no, I actually like the landing spot for him. It just was too late. The one that made me sad was DJ Giddens. I really liked Giddens as a prospect. I was hoping he went somewhere like Dallas or somewhere where I knew he wouldn't be probably a day 2 pick, maybe late round 3, something like that. But I just wanted him to go somewhere where he would get an opportunity, and he went to the Colts. So congratulations, Giddens. Get ready to learn handcuff, because that's all you are right now. Is you're Jonathan Taylor's handcuff in fantasy, and
ready to learn
more.
Special teams, buddy. Yeah, just everything about. I mean, I know we talked about the Colts before, and how all of our hopes and dreams are sort of wrapped up in whether or not they can figure out the quarterback position, and it's just not optimistic at this point, and so that's sort of frustrating. LQ, your least favorite from day 3.
Oh, man, Ollie Gordon, man. I mean, going to Miami, it's like he's part of a stable now of the running backs that are just going to be the running back stable. And low morale over there right now. I don't know if you know, but more so he's behind Jalen Wright right now. And this is not somewhere he could revamp. I feel like he's going to get cold in his talent. And what I mean by that is that 2023, he was projected to be the top running back prospect. 2024 happens, he take a step back with a little off-field issue, et cetera, little less production what he had in 2024, and now he's going to a running back stable where he may not even see the field ever. So it's one of those situations where like, dang, man, I kind of want him to tap back into that 2023 production, but it doesn't seem like he's going to be able to do that right now, being the like, third, fourth, fifth, maybe running back, on that stable.
Yeah, it's just a tough spot to be in. And, I don't know. I also just wonder about what's going to happen with that team long term in terms of, coaching, front office. Like, is this it for Mike McDaniel? Like how many more opportunities does he get, right? This team is sort of has underperformed the last few years. I'm sure you do. I'm sure things are great.
He's great
in Western New York.
He's great for fantasy, and he can't beat the Bills.
And he's a good quote. He's funny. Like, we like all that stuff about him. I just do wonder how much longer he's going to get an opportunity down there in Miami, considering the way that team has underperformed over the last few years. I wasn't in love with Jalen Lane going to Washington. I think it's a thing that works for the Commanders. I think it's a thing that works for Jaden Daniels. I don't think it's a thing that works for Jalen Lane. Knowing Terry McLaurin is there, knowing they just brought in Deebo Samuel, we've seen guys like Noah Brown step up. I still think they want to figure out what they have in Luke McCaffrey to some extent as well. It just seems like it's a really crowded situation. So it's one of those things that, again, if you're Jaden Daniels, it's great because you've got one more weapon potentially to work with. If you're Cliff Kingsbury, it's another sort of movable chess piece that you can kind of plug in there and see what you got. But I think in terms of the player himself, it's just going to be a tough spot for him to see if he can and perform and be productive in Washington as a rookie for sure. All right, so I guess this is the question because I actually really wanted to get to the questions. Like in day two, we sort of talked about them mostly, so it wasn't really as big. But one, let's get to it, right? You guys alluded to the third round pick in Cleveland. It was Dylan Gabriel, which I think that was the moment that we all were like, wow, Shedeur really is falling, right? Like it was like, all right, Cam Ward, he was supposed to go number one, not a surprise. Hey, wow, Jackson Dart's the second quarterback off the board. That's kind of curious. When you started seeing Tyler Shough, and then when you saw the Browns take Dylan Gabriel, it was like, okay.
It was hilarious to me because when it was Shough, people were like, I don't understand it, but he's pretty good. Milrow, people were like, all right, at least there's long-term upside. And then it was Gabriel, and everyone was like, something fishy's going on here.
Everyone's like, people were like, I got nothing. I got nothing. Like, right? Like you can't make up a reason for it. Right. We are not here to litigate the reasons why Shedeur fell. There are plenty of other shows and personalities that will dissect that until the cows come home. Our job here is to explain to you where he landed and give you our thoughts on whether or not that makes him fantasy viable. And so I just want to put this in a bigger context, though, right? Because they did spend a third-round pick on Dylan Gabriel. They did bring back Joe Flacco in the offseason. They did go out and acquire Kenny Pickett. They've got just a bananas-looking quarterback room, at least on paper. Florio, how does this shake out? Who ends up being the starter in week one in Cleveland? That's what, by the way, I didn't mention the fact that Deshaun Watson is still on the roster, right? He's probably not going to play this year, but he is still, the direct deposit from the Browns is still coming every couple of weeks, right? Like, how does this work out?
I think it's an absolute nightmare. I think it is a fantasy mess, and I want no part of any of the Browns. And I felt that way before they brought in Deontay Johnson yesterday, who I know the internet is like, this guy's bad, but like, no, as a football player, he is good. He is just everything else you have to deal with. I think Joe Flacco starts week one. I think he is the veteran presence. I think it'll be a situation where he starts like the first month of the season, something like that. And when the Browns are not moving the ball consistently, then we see a switch. And I do believe Sanders takes over then, because I think he is like, I'm going to stand on my takes here and not what the NFL told me. And I know for all of draft season, I was like, draft capital and what the NFL view these players as matter more than what I view them as. But Sanders didn't fall to the fifth round and behind Gabriel because of pure football reasons. There's everything else tied to him. But I think if you put these two in camp next to each other, I think Sanders is going to be the better QB and going to win this job. And it's funny, on Friday night, I tweeted out, there's not a world where Dillon Gabriel is currently better or has more long-term upside than Shedeur Sanders. And so many people were like attacking me for it. I'm so happy that we get to watch it play out now, side by side, because I think I truly believe Sanders is the better QB here, and I think he's the best QB in that Browns room.
I do agree with that. I think he's the best quarterback, long term at least, in the Browns quarterback room right now, right? I mean, obviously Joe Flacco's had a long career. He was a Super Bowl MVP. He's got that on the resume, and so that's what everybody else is trying to match up to. But as of this moment, on April 29th, 2025, I think Shedeur Sanders is the best quarterback in that quarterback room. But Laquan, I think that comes with a caveat though, right? Because for whatever criticisms people had of him, the one thing or the things that were consistent in the evaluation of him, holds on to the ball too long, takes sacks, does not have, elite level arm strength, does not have elite level athleticism. These are things that are just pure evaluations of his talent. I would also throw in, yes, they did add Deontay Johnson. That's not a very compelling wide receiver room there, dude. It's just
not at all.
It's just not. And so even if Shedeur Sanders ends up starting a number of games for the Browns this year, which certainly is very possible, is he fantasy relevant in 2025?
What team does he play for?
The Cleveland Browns.
Oh, so the Cleveland Browns. You're expecting me to get a Cleveland Browns quarterback and sit him into my QB1 slot and have him be fantasy? Absolutely not. Listen, I am not trying to poop on Cleveland, but there is no good track record of a quarterback coming in there, elevating that program. And the best one to do it, honestly, with his track record would be Shedeur, but I'm not banking that on fantasy. I'm here to get points right now. I'm here to hold the championship up at the end of the year because I made the right decisions. Getting Shedeur Sanders in Dynasty, you're in for a roller coaster. You're in for a roller coaster that you do not want to be part of. It's not one of the fun roller coasters where you can put your hands up and scream no, this is a roller coaster of nightmares because at the end of the day, you have to look at what's around him. There's not great pieces around. Deontay Johnson's not moving the needle. Jerry Jeudy can only play with apparently Jameson Winston, which he's not there anymore. So I'm not really confident in anything that's going on in Cleveland for me to invest anything remotely close to my fantasy leagues, best ball, redraft, dynasty, superflex premium, and whatever league that we have not even dived into yet to even have Shedeur Sanders or any Browns quarterback on my rosters.
To quote ancient philosopher Billy Madison, a simple no would have been just fine. I think for all of the talk and look, whatever happens throughout training camp and the preseason and even early in the regular season, there's going to be a lot of talk about Shedeur and his place on the roster and whether he should or should not be playing. I think the bottom line for fantasy is that I just don't think he's really touchable in redraft leagues. Maybe you take that shot on him in a rookie draft in Dynasty and you wait and see what develops there. But I don't see an avenue where I want any part of it in a 2025 redraft league.
I think if you look at their roster and how they attacked this draft, the Browns don't want to be trusting their quarterbacks in 2025. Like they want to be running the ball and relying on Myles Garrett in that defense.
It really is a case of we're just going to stockpile quarterbacks and law of averages says one of them's got to work out. I think that's kind of how the way they
they're like, none of them are going to work out, and we have 2 first-round picks next year. That's when we'll get our guy.
Yeah. Or there's that. So you're saying they're in the Arch Manning sweepstakes?
Yeah. So are the Rams.
Sanders versus Manning would be the QB battle of a lifetime.
Oh man.
No, we don't want that.
Wall-to-wall coverage of every Browns practice.
Not even just every Browns practice, though, but then it's also going to be like, then we got to hear from the Sanders family and the Manning family. And it's like, because we don't have enough Dion and Peyton and Eli on our televisions already. We're going to pit their family members against one another.
Triple threat match.
Oh my God.
No. Although, here's the thing.
I want to see that.
So I don't know if I've come up with this first. I'm saying I have because I haven't seen it anywhere. Because you know how we had the suck for luck and all these things. This year it's got to be #planning for Manning, right? That's what it is.
Manning for
What
Manning.
was it when Eli was there saying that?
There wasn't one. No, because like Andrew Luck was kind of the first one, right? Where everybody was like, we're gonna suck for Luck. And then like every year we keep trying to make up a new one and they are increasingly terrible.
To do that.
Yeah. Like
we want to go 8-8.
All these things have become increasingly terrible, but planning for Manning is right there. Like we can do this as a society. We can absolutely do this.
For Manning.
Yeah. So obviously the Browns quarterback room is a huge story that's going to be talked about a lot. But I did want to talk about the Browns running back room a little bit, right? And, yes, they spent a second-round pick on Quinshon Judkins. They've moved on from Nick Chubb. Jerome Ford was last year. They draft Dylan Sampson in the 4th round. I mean, Laquan, is this just the Judkins backfield and everybody else is playing to be his backup? Or is there a chance they could run multiple guys in this group?
No, this is an underrated running back duo, by the way. Like Sampson was up there in talks of being one of the top running back prospects. So them having both on the stable, there is something interesting about this Browns offense. So them running that 1-2 punch, you get Judkins, who's a violent runner, and then you have Sampson, who can also be violent at times, but he adds to the passing game as well, even though he was limited in his time at Tennessee catching the ball. So I love this combination of a 1-2 punch. Sampson's probably like more so of like a stash or a guy that you put on the watch list, but I would not be surprised if he's involved early over Jerome Ford.
Yeah, Jerome Ford's on notice.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think he's probably the odd man out there. So I'm curious to see where Sampson goes. I mean, I know you did a mock draft recently, Florio. Do you remember where Judkins went in that?
I believe he went in the end. I have it right here. Yeah, he went first pick of the 5th round.
Okay,
so I think that's a good.
That's reasonable.
And then Sampson went late 13th round.
All right, that all seems reasonable. Yeah, I think
so. People are expecting a 1-2 punch because most of the league right now is doing 1-2 punches. So I think that will probably be like one of the underrated ones that really nobody.
I do think Judkins though is going to be the heavy side of that split. He's just built to handle, like 250 plus touches.
Yeah.
Well, depending on if the Browns can give him the ball that much because they're probably trailing.
The amount of plays.
I mean, I think the only running back out of this class that you can reasonably project a true workhorse load for is Ashton Jeanty. Like I think everybody else is going to be in some sort of tandem or rotational situation. I mean, Henderson with Ramondre Stevenson in New England, Omarion Hampton and Najee Harris with Chargers. We just talked about Sampson and Judkins. Like all these other guys are going to have somebody to share with. I think Jeanty is the only one you can look at and be like, he is the guy for sure.
Have you guys, I know it's really early. The draft was 3 days ago. Have you I keep thinking about where I would want to take Jeanty, and I'm settling at RB4. Like, I don't think I could push him ahead of Saquon, Gibbs, or Bijan. But after that, it's really hard to make a case against him.
I mean, because, yes, I think you're right, because you're drafting for the potential ceiling, right? And that's how people are going to view him, is you're drafting at what the ceiling can be for him. And so by that measure, although, I don't know, maybe
if Derrick Henry wasn't 31, I think he would go
right. That's the thing. Derrick Henry's the pivot point, and it's like, okay, 1, he's Derrick Henry, like, yay. 2, he's 31 years old, and even as big and strong as he is, that's a lot of wear and tear.
I got him last night at the 204 spot, Ashton Jeanty. So I was really surprised that he fell that ball. Yeah. So I was just like, this is kind of weird, and maybe it's just one draft, but this is literally one draft that I did yesterday. So obviously we're going to keep drafting.
Was it a wide receiver heavy first round, or was there just a lot of running backs?
It was a lot of wide receivers that went off. Brock Bowers was like the only that went. Okay. I got it right here, actually.
It's not like Henry and HN and Taylor were ahead of him, because that seems to be the next group kind of.
Bijan was at 102, and then you got Saquon at the 103. Gibbs went at 106, and then all wide receivers, and then Brock Bowers at the 111.
So RB4 makes. Yeah, I think that's where you're going to have to take him.
Yeah, for sure.
So early second round is not bad.
All right.
No, not at all.
Staying in the AFC North, who is
the
starting
quarterback?
This? I do. I absolutely do. Who is going to be the Steelers starting quarterback in week 1? Mason Rudolph, Will Howard, or the other guy? I'm not saying his name. You know who I'm talking about.
Voldemort.
Yeah, I was like, is he who shall not be named? Is he going to be? Is he starting quarterback for the Steelers in week 1?
It's going to be him, right? Like the Steelers literally did nothing at QB, which to me, I've been operating for like a month now that Aaron Rodgers is their QB, but you don't sign one in free agency. You don't trade for one. You don't take one at all in the draft when Sanders was there for you in the 3rd, 4th rounds. Like, yeah, they're going that route.
This is horrible.
Here's the thing. I am not a Steelers fan, so when I say this, it will not have an emotional impact on me as opposed to somebody who waves a terrible towel and whatever. But at some point, if you're the Steelers, you just kind of have to bottom out, right? Like, you just got to bottom out. Like, I almost think it's more productive in the long run to start Mason Rudolph or to see what you have with Will Howard. Maybe start, midway through the season, see what you have with Will Howard and just bottom out as opposed to, we're going to have a winning record. We're going to get a low seed in the playoffs and then probably get bounced in the first round and then get like a mid to late first round pick. That doesn't really help us build the ball club. They're just hanging out in football purgatory. They're treading water.
What this tells me though?
It's not good.
If the quarterback play is going to be as poor, the running backs are going to eat. So Caleb Johnson to the freaking moon because we've seen Arthur Smith pull this with Desmond
Did it hurt your heart to say that?
It kind of did, but he landed in the spot. He landed in the spot that I said I would be okay with. He was another one, him and Luther Burden. I was like, landing spot will matter. And he landed at the one spot that I cared about. So it's one of those things that you got to look at those running backs.
Poor Jaylen Warren.
I don't remember who I saw post this. Maybe it was our pal Andy Behrens. But basically, it was like, you loved him when he was called Najee Harris. That's kind of what it feels like with Caleb Johnson.
Faster Najee.
That's what it feels like.
That's how I kind of feel about Omarion Hampton as well.
Interesting. I don't know. I like Omarion Hampton. I think
I do as well. But
I think the Najee Harris situation in LA could be fairly short lived, and so then that just opens the door.
You're drafting Hampton as a
for
flex.
Omarion Hampton.
Don't leave the draft without him.
He went in the 3rd round of my draft the other day.
What?
People are excited.
Wow.
Oh.
I think the thinking is he's going to quickly steal that job. I don't think Najee ever fully goes away.
No, I don't think he ever goes away. No, absolutely not. That's why I'm like, that's a hell of an investment. Yeah. That's a hell of an investment.
Glad I'm not the only one who thought that was early.
No, that's wild.
That's rich.
Another bonus question for you, Florio. How early does Laquan draft Jordan James? Noted Seahawks fan. Obviously, I'm assuming he's also transitioning to being a 49ers fan at the same time. Knowing how much he loved Jordan Mason and was like banging the table for Jordan Mason, now that Jordan James is sort of in that spot, how early does Laquan draft him?
I don't think that high at all. I think he's going to be like, I don't like this guy. He's not Jordan Mason. I don't want him on my team. But I do think he's joining IDP leagues right now to get Chris Paul Jr. on his rosters. It blew my mind that he is not related to the point guard.
That is kind of wild, actually.
No, first of all, I love both those players, okay? I love Chris Paul. He's coming in as a smaller linebacker, but he is side to side and does not miss tackles. Jordan James, my friend, I'm getting maximum exposure as many basketball leagues I am right now because he has far more production than Jordan Mason did in college. So there's that. And he is far better than Isaac Guerendo in many attributes and traits of where Guerendo can't pass block, okay? And I just told you that he has far more production than Jordan Mason did in college. And you're looking at a guy that shared the backfield with Bucky Irvin that had 11 touchdowns in 2023. And I might be an Oregon Duck fan, honestly, because we got Terrance Ferguson. I love Bucky Irvin. I love Jordan James. Let's go Ducks.
Quack, quack. Quack, quack. Get you a Puddles the Duck t-shirt so you can rock that.
I might have to, man. I might have to, but
I'm trying to find the list of Rams opponents for 2025 simply because, the Bengals have an offensive lineman named Michael Jordan, and I'm just wondering, will Michael Jordan have to block Chris Paul Jr.?
That would be awesome.
At some point this season. That's all I want to know.
MG, question for you as the 49ers guy on this show.
Yes.
James or Garendo, who do you think is the RB2 there?
I mean, I think it's Garendo, but the recent history of 49ers running backs suggests that Jordan James is going to play at some point. So
I got James as the RB2 by the end of camp.
I'm a Garendo guy. I'm hoping he wins it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think Garendo's going to be the guy, but I mean, the way the Niners backfield operates is it's just kind of a title. You know what I'm saying? Like,
the guy, if he couldn't beat out Jordan Mason when the opportunity was served up for both of them equally. Like, if I just told you Jordan James is better than Jordan Mason, there's no way Isaac Garendo is going to overleap this guy. No way.
No,
I'm confident in it.
I think what you saw out of Garendo, especially when he got the chance last season, suggests that he gets first dibs over the guy they just brought in. I mean, look, I could be wrong, but I'm saying that right now I think Isaac Garendo's your RB2 in San Francisco. So
the value on Jordan James, ladies and gentlemen.
So then where are you drafting? You're taking him in what, round 14?
14, 15, 16. He's on my roster. Maximum exposure. Jordan James for the next couple years. And even in rookie drafts right now, he's going in the 4th round. Like, I'm not leaving any of these rookie drafts that are coming up in the next week without him. That's just how hard I'm pounding the table.
Okay. All right. I'm here for it. I'm ready to see it. All right, so we've kind of gone through our likes and dislikes for days 2 and 3 of the draft. So now we can sort of take the big picture view, looking at this as a whole, figuring out the guys that sort of gained in terms of our opinion of them and what they mean for fantasy, the guys who fell, both on the rookie and veteran side. So let's start with the rookies. Florio, who was your big rookie riser from this draft?
Bashal Tutin, I think he got to go to the Jags, and look, it's a new regime there, and I know people are gonna look at like Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne and be like, oh, but they have good guys there. Do they? You watch with your eyes the Jaguars play football and try to run the ball last year, and Tutin is fast, arguably the fastest running back in this class. So I think there's an opportunity for him to come in there and potentially steal the lead role away, or at least have a large share of the touches in that backfield. And Tutin was a prospect that he was going to gain or lose a lot based on landing spot. Like, he wasn't a surefire guy. And in his mock I did the other day, he went in the middle of the 8th round ahead of like Cam Scadaboo and Luther Burden and some other guys. So I think he was a huge riser because of the opportunity he's going to get.
All right. Your rookie riser, Laquan.
So the riser for me was Trey Harris, and the landing spot in LA was such a huge spot for him because how quickly is he going to make us forget that Mike Williams and Quentin Johnston is on the team just based on what he brings to the table. So I think that was a home run pick for them. They needed an XY receiver. He's your prototype guy. I mean, honestly, you look at last year what he did with Jackson Dart, down deep, intermediate. Like, he's a guy that he's definitely going to be heavily targeted in the red zone. So he's one of those guys that you got to look at the end of those rounds when you want for upside at the wide receiver position with a rookie, because we've been seeing rookie wide receivers just produce and become fantasy relevant in their first year. So he's definitely one of them you got to have on that list.
I'm gonna go, and not that I think he's gonna be great, but I think Tyler Shough just ended up really he landed in the perfect spot. I mean, this is a guy that we weren't sure where he was gonna go, but I think the open thought was he was gonna be a backup somewhere, right? I mean, Cam Ward was always slated to go to Tennessee. There were questions about where Shedeur Sanders was going to land, but it seemed like he was going to be in a really good spot to compete, and maybe even in an open spot. Even the thought was, when we heard about the Derek Carr situation, that it was Jackson Dart that was going to New Orleans, right? It was supposed to be a Jackson Dart opportunity, maybe competing with Derek Carr. Instead, it's Tyler Shough who lands there. And
he shucked up.
He shucked up. That could go both ways, right? Like, man, like if he plays badly, like, I don't know, man, you're shucking up down there. The whole thing. But he's walked into a legitimate opportunity to be a starter in his first year. We'll see what this camp battle with Spencer Rattler turns out to be, but it's definitely a better situation for him than I think anybody would have anticipated before we went through this whole draft process. Rookie faller for you, Florio.
A veteran?
No, rookie. Do you have a rookie? Do you have somebody that fell?
Oh, wait, a faller. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was already thinking about veterans already. Yeah, I think for year one for redraft, Emeka Egbuka. Okay. I think his landing spot wasn't ideal because, like, if he went to a spot where he was going to get opportunity, he could have been like a wide receiver 3 for fantasy purposes. But now I think he is purely just like a late round dart throw. And I get it. Long term with the Bucks, they're trying to get their replacement options in the building before they're needed. Injuries, Mike Evans is getting up there. Chris Godwin has a lengthy injury history, stuff like that. But like week 1, when those guys are healthy, it's going to be Evans and Godwin in 2 wide receiver sets, and it's going to be him and McMillan competing to be that 3rd wide receiver there. I don't think any one of them besides those top 2 guys are going to get enough consistent volume where you could start them. But if he went to the right landing spot, I think he could have been a viable fantasy starter.
Yeah, that was one I know we were all confused about on Thursday when it happened, is kind of what the plan was for Egbuka for sure. Laquan, who is your rookie faller from this thing?
It has to be Matthew Golden. I think we were all excited about the combine with him and like potential landing spots, and like we were all trying to fit and pick where he was going to go. But then he ended up in Green Bay, and it's like, come on, man. You guys have enough wide receivers you're trying to figure out how to utilize, and you guys obviously need a one. And then you go with Matthew Golden. Like who will win, 1,000 Green Bay Packer wide receivers or 100 Gorillas? Like, this is where we're at with it. Like, there's just too many. There's just too many Packer wide receivers, bro. Like, I just don't see him being fantasy relevant in year 1. Like, he'll have his moments, but the most frustrating thing about fantasy is like, I'm not getting majority of my points and winning championships off of moments. Like, I need a consistent guy, and like, I can't see myself taking him off the draft board or even in rookie drafts being like really bullish on him.
Yeah, Matthew Golden was mine too, just for all the things you said.
Well, Tyler Warren. I mean, we can go that route as well.
Yeah.
He's another faller. It's like, oh man, sorry.
Mostly because of the quarterback situation. If they can figure that out, I think it's fine.
I think I'm gonna be the Tyler Warren guy in fantasy because let's go back 1 year. We were saying bad quarterback play, too many target comps, all of that for Brock Bowers.
Yeah,
it was Gardner Minshew, right? Like,
yeah,
and we had,
it was
like Devontae and
Aiden
Jacoby
O'Connell, and maybe.
But it's Indy.
That was Vegas. Arguably worse. I'd rather have Shane Steichen.
I mean, you're trying to get me back in on him because I just
feel like he's
going to be out.
He's going to end up in the satchel of discontent, man. He's already picking out a room in there, man. The bag is growling. Like, I think he's already going to make some housing over there with Kyle Pitts.
I think he's going to be my most drafted tight end too.
Wow. All right.
Tight end 2, yeah. All right. We can jump on that train. That's a short trip to the satchel.
Yeah, sure. Tight end 2 for sure. I can draft him as tight end 2.
Short trip to satchel discontent.
No doubt about it. All right, let's get on to the veteran side of things. Florio, your veteran riser, who got helped this weekend?
DeAndre Swift, I think, was the biggest winner because the Bears went out this offseason. Obviously, they bring in Ben Johnson. They dramatically increased the interior part of their offensive line. They added Luther Burden. They added Loveland. So you have a lot of pass catchers there. They did literally nothing to add to the running back room. And there was like 4 different times in this draft where we saw a running back or 2 go off the board and the Bears traded out. So like, I think they had in mind some specific running backs, but it didn't work out. And this narrative that Ben Johnson hates DeAndre Swift, I think is silly because like, yeah, he replaced him in Detroit with Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, yeah, that's the right call. He was a good scout. He did what was best for his offense, but whether it be DeAndre Swift or like Roschon Johnson, who's going in the double-digit rounds, I just want to take both of those 2 guys in my drafts and know that I have Ben Johnson's lead running back on my roster.
All right. I don't hate that at all. I don't know. I don't know what his long-term future is, but I think in the short term, I think he's fine there in Chicago.
He had 70 targets with Ben Johnson that year. I'll tell you that. PPR
just a 1-year thing. He'll be replaced after this year.
He probably will be, yeah, for sure. Who's your veteran that won this weekend, Laquan?
I mean, is he a veteran? Chase Brown? I mean, he came out as a winner, Like, they didn't really go out there and get, like, one of these high-profile prospects, but there could be a trade pending. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, the Bengals traded for a running back last season, so I don't think that, Chase Brown is going to be looking too bad going in those early rounds with maximum workload. Like, they took Ty Brooks, so like he's not going to be competing for touches, for Chase Brown. So the upside is there for him to be one of the top 10 running backs at the end of the season. So shout out Chase Brown.
All right. I have a trio. They all kind of fit in the same box, right? Young quarterbacks that got help. Drake May, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. Their teams went out and made it a point to bring in help, whether it was wide receiver, running back, even a little bit of offensive line help. But I think these teams understand the value, or at least the perceived value, of being able to win with a quarterback on their first contract. Especially for the Texans, who had the big rookie year from CJ Stroud. Wasn't quite as great in year 2, but feel like the window is still open. They're trying to make sure that they can get him back to where he was in year 1. With Bryce Young, I think the Panthers saw the evolution of him at the end of last season, and now they're like, let's add some more pieces. I mean, them getting, adding a Ted McMillan early on, I think goes a long way toward helping him out, but they went out and added some other pieces there in that wide receiver room. I think I'll get Jimmy Horn Jr. in the 6th round. They draft Trevor Etienne, the running back spot in the 4th round. They really are trying to make things better for Bryce Young there in Carolina. And then Drake May. I mean, we talked about everything the Patriots did, going out and getting wide receiver help, getting running back help. They obviously see the vision with Drake May there, and they bring in Josh McDaniels to be the play caller, run the offense there. So I think all 3 of those young quarterbacks had a very good weekend because of what their teams did around them. And because I can never help but end this show on a bad note, one day I'll learn. Today's not that day. Florio, who's your veteran that fell this weekend?
There was a lot of running backs that I think could have rose or fallen this weekend, and sadly, Jaylen Warren fell. Like, I just want 1 year of what Jaylen Warren could be as a lead back, but Mike Tomlin and the Steelers have shown us that they think he is just a really good RB2 change of pace guy. They don't think he can be that workhorse guy because they went out, they used a premium pick on Caleb Johnson, and we were joking about it, but the new Najee Harris, right? Like, I think the split and the usage is going to be pretty similar to what we've seen in the last couple of years, which means that Warren is an RB3 for fantasy purposes. He'll have a couple of big games, but we're not going to get the ceiling that we were hoping to get out of him. At least I was.
Yeah. Laquan, who's yours?
I mean, look, I love my Rams. I mean, this is an obvious faller right here with Kyren Williams because he was already falling before the draft, before we went out and got a running back again that we do every year. But you have to feel for the guy. Like, honestly, like, I love everything he did for us for these last couple seasons, but Jarquez Hunter is on the way and he's going to be hunting for that job. And honestly, look at it like you got a guy that has no gloves when he's toting that rock. That is Kung Fu grip on that ball. Like, he's filling the area that we need, and that's ball security. Kyren cannot keep dropping these balls. 2 crucial balls in both Eagles games that he dropped the ball. And look, Jarquez only had 1 fumble last season. So therefore, you got a guy that's a workhorse, that is an Auburn guy. Les Snead and his connection, being that he's an Auburn guy. I see the favoritism of going into this next season where he's going to have to split that load. He's already taken a step back in that red zone area because we're going to be throwing the ball as heavy as we were when Matthew Stafford first got there in LA in 2021 because of Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. So you throw in all those factors in, there's no way I could see Kyren even being a top 10 running back this season.
You just went Blake Corum out on the sidewalk with a sign that says,
"Oh, he's there." He would be mixed in. He would be mixed in.
All right. I just didn't know if you were done with him either.
No, I love him. He hasn't got on the bad list yet.
For those of y'all who don't know, by the way, like, Laquan has this love-hate relationship with Kyren Williams. Like, it just really depends on the day how he feels about Kyren Williams.
Wasn't it Thursday night you were like, I'm back in? Like,
yeah, like, well, basically because he saw somebody else. He saw somebody else sort of hating on Kyren Williams, and it was like, hey man, like, you can't hate on. Like, I can hate on Kyren because he's like on my team, but you can't.
I get it.
You get it.
Big brother, little brother thing. Like, I can talk trash about Kyren, but you can't. So he was back in on Thursday.
Love, though, man. The love of the game, the love for the Rams. Like, you cannot drop that ball. And he's not really that explosive. So that's one of those things that, come on, we got to pick it up,
I mean,
do you think he gets usurped, or do you think that he's the lead guy, but Hunter just plays a big enough role where it prevents?
Look, Kyron will be the lead back. He will eat first. It's just that he's going to have to share his plate. And that's honestly what we started to see after that Saints game last season, getting Blake Corum sprinkled in. Right before the playoffs, Corum gets injured, and we don't ever get to see that at a full dynamic of that 1-2 punch. You bring in Hunter, ball security, and explosiveness. I mean, a 94-yard touchdown run he had last season, which was the longest in program history for Auburn. These are areas that we needed in him, and he's not providing that. So we need to get the ball less in his hand so he doesn't fumble it. That's just literally what it is.
Man, 1,300 plus yards and double-digit touchdowns, 15-plus touchdowns in back-to-back seasons.
Fumble after fumble and fumble.
I think Kyron's underrated, but that's just me.
I do too. So,
yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
It's all right.
For me, and maybe he wasn't the biggest faller, but I think Sam Darnold, the Seahawks sent him a reminder that you might be here for a good time, but you're not here for a long time, buddy.
Don't get comfortable.
Right. I mean, this is not on par with the Falcons going out and drafting Michael Penix in the top 10 or whatever it was. But this is just like, hey, man, like, you're not the future here. Like, we're glad you're here. We respected what you did last year in Minnesota, but we are planning for the future, and that future right now looks like Jalen Milroe. So don't get comfortable. I wouldn't look at buying long-term real estate in Seattle unless you just happen to like the area. I think that's something to keep in mind there. Now, obviously, they're putting weapons there around him. They go out and get, they bring in Cooper Kupp, who I know is not what he was a few years ago, but still a guy who can make plays for you. They are bringing in wide receiver weapons. They're bringing in wide receiver help. You mentioned Elijah Arroyo. They bring in at the tight end spot. So they're trying to do things to help the offense a little bit. But I think for Sam Darnold, this is a thing where he's kind of looking over his shoulder a little bit at the,
I feel like
the
we've
guys
seen
that's
this
coming
movie before. Kind of with Carson.
Oh, with J.J. McCarthy? You mean Sam Darnold, J.J. McCarthy kind of thing?
That thing, and also with Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts. I mean, they brought in weapons for Wentz, and then here you go. Here's the new hot toy that can run.
Yeah.
Maybe year two, though.
I think they're too invested in year one to.
No, year one, I think it's Darnold's gig.
I mean, that's what happened with Hurts. It took a little while, but we saw it. So who knows what happens?
I mean, you can even go back to was it Matt Flynn and Russell Wilson? I mean, you could go back to the same Seattle Seahawks, right? Matt Flynn and Russell Wilson.
Bank, though. I know he wasn't mad.
Never forget that Mike Glennon was the reason that Russell Wilson had to transfer.
And then
Mike Glennon got picked over Russell Wilson in a quarterback competition at NC State. That was it.
The neck man.
So Wilson left NC State, went to Wisconsin.
But NFL, he went to the Bears?
He was a starter when Trubisky was there. I remember that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he also was in, I think he was in Tampa for a minute, too.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
He was a journeyman for sure.
Yeah, drafted by Tampa, went to the Bears for a year. Cardinals, Raiders, Jaguars, Giants.
When did the Cardinals happen? That must have been the Rosen era, right?
He must have been.
That was the Rosen year.
It was the Rosen year.
Yeah. All right. Makes sense.
Dude, Josh Rosen, I know we got to end, but he caught such a stray yesterday because people were calling out the Bills GM for not drafting a GM, and he just went on the radio and was like, in 2018, you guys wanted Josh Rosen. And I was like, oh my God.
Dude.
With a heater.
That's rough. Woo.
I'm like, Josh Rosen's in business school just minding his own business right now.
Man. And I will take this opportunity to say I thought Josh Rosen would. I didn't think he had the highest ceiling, but I thought he was the most ready to go out of the guys in that draft. I thought he was the most pro ready.
You got Steve Wilkes fired.
Yeah. Open the door for Kyler Murray in Arizona.
There you go.
There it is. All right. Beefy show. That was to be expected after everything that went down over the weekend. Back on Thursday. We should probably do a mock draft, huh? Maybe we can get a mock draft going tomorrow. Maybe get it to going tomorrow. We could talk about it potentially on Thursday because, now that guys have homes, that's going to change a whole lot of things. So either way, we'll come up with something to talk about on Thursday, and then we'll talk about, where Laquan drafted Terrance Ferguson and all that kind of stuff. So
spoiler alert, I did not.
That'll do it for this edition of the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. Stay happy, safe, and healthy. Do good and live well. Enjoy the week, everybody. We will talk to you again on Thursday.